Welcome to Revelations for Thursday, nope, Monday, March 2nd, 2026. I'm your illustrious trading guide, Tom Sacred Prophet Hartman, and serving at my pleasure is my first acolyte, Peter Bad Guru Hartman. On Revelations, we recap the day's trade setups, the wins, the sins, and the acts of God, and what we're watching for in the days ahead, all to teach you, the congregation, how to trade. So, like, follow, and listen because the next few minutes might just change your life. Peter, today's trade in action was, as you might call, de rigueur. Actually, you want to share your desktop so I can see that there, Peter?
Yeah, I'm loading it.
It's just classic what happens when black swan events or gray swan events happen, or white swan, depending on what side of the Iran offensive you're on. But suffice to say, the markets weren't exactly priced in for this move. And so, what do we get after the all the kerfuffle that started? The next phase, the next milestone of World War III. Well, we had markets go up. We had markets go up. Ain't that interesting? Well, let's take a look at MNQ real quick because that's the asset I care most about today in order to showcase to you guys the two things that I want you to be aware of today. The first one is something we've talked about multiple times before, and the second one is something brand new that I'm not sure, Peter, we have talked about at all. You might not even know this. All right, first up, when we take a look at the MNQ chart, we're looking for that 6 p.m. Eastern move. That move is what, Peter? What kind of trade happens at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
6 p.m. is the overnight trade.
That's right, where we're looking for a move from the open of futures all the way up to the daily VWAP levels, the levels that VWAP closed at the day before. Here on this chart, we're looking at this very narrow range at 24,933 and 24,944. Essentially, is where the price, the VWAPs closed on Friday. Now, when we were looking for the open on when we talked about it yesterday on Sunday Fuel, we were looking at Bitcoin as a proxy for, hey, what might happen when we are when we open. And when we looked at Bitcoin, we saw that basically between Friday and Sunday night, over here Friday and Sunday night, the price of Bitcoin was basically flat. But we did not get that in the open for MNQ. We got instead a drop at open. We had a drop here of about, let's call it from peak to trough. We're looking at around a 1.2% drop and then a bounce up, right? Now, this is to be expected. This drop was to be, not that it can't be expected, but what happens is that a bunch of positions go on and people are selling off their positions. They put it on hedges. We can expect some volatility right there, and so that it opened lower. Okay, wasn't a huge surprise. Our Bitcoin leader indicator didn't exactly work there, but this is because of an event shock. People had to adjust their positions because of what happened over the weekend. But where did the price go to from there when it dropped? It moved up after this candle close. We started this move up towards the VWAP level. All right. But you guys will notice very astutely that once we got here, we whiffed it. We did not get to the VWAP level. We didn't get to the daily level. That means there's a very high likelihood that we're going to get back to that level at some point during the session. Sometime before 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when the US session closes, we should get back to that level. How? The path dependency? Well, that's what it is to be a trader, Peter. That's what it is to be a trader. But what we saw is that after that first 2 hour band here, these purple lines you guys are seeing, these vertical lines, purple here, 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 these are 2 hour candles. These are 2 hour periods. And it's not for nothing that after the first 2 hour is when the price peaked out and we started to fall. Then we started doing that bouncing between the 2 hour levels. Here we fell here to this 2 hour level. Then the price kept going lower to another 2 hour level. Then we moved up later on to another 2 hour level, and we started climbing a little bit, bouncing between 2 hour levels. It wasn't perfect, but it was responding to these prices. Now, later on during the day, the US session, which is usually like if we're going to get back to the miss VWAP levels, it often happens in the first part, usually before 10 o'clock on the US session. So here at the US session, we had a big candle rise to come and reach these two 2 hour levels that were missed. So this is not for nothing that these guys weren't retraced to over the overnight. And when we got back up here, the first candle came to touch those two areas. That brought us into a bullish trend. You'll notice this green bullish trend here for the session VWAP and the overnight VWAP. That is a classic bullish signal for the day. And then we climbed up all the way to 10 o'clock to that level right here. All right. So you might, if you didn't have these indicators, if you didn't have the levels indicators, if you didn't understand VWAP levels that we're talking about, historical VWAP levels that we're talking about, you might be sitting here going, I don't understand. Why did the price just stall out here for hours until almost 12 o'clock? Why did it stay here? Well, we know why it stayed there, because that's the daily VWAP levels from the day before. There was resistance here. Then what did it need to do? It need to come back to the VWAP level, the session VWAP, and then do that bounce before it got above that level and then started making its way further up. All right. So this is all in a bullish trend. Since we're in a bullish trend for that day, we're expecting to get bounces off these levels, which is exactly what we did. All right. So far, not a mystery. Now, I want to point out a couple of things here. One, just a little quiz here, Peter. You see here this daily level up here?
Yeah.
We didn't actually touch it.
No, we didn't.
We whiffed it. So the likelihood, not a guarantee, but the likelihood is that we got to get to that level. And since we're going to be getting to that level in the new session, like towards that level in the new session, we have to expect that we're going to continue upwards. And if we continue upwards, the next daily level that's unmitigated is all the way up here at 25,555, a level we've been talking about now for weeks. This level has been created since November. Could we get all the way up there? Yeah, it's possible. Guys, it's all possible. It's not a guarantee, but if we climb above this level, confirm it, and then continue rising up, I would be using this as a target.
Wow.
Right? In chess, if you play chess, when you're seeing a weakness for a pawn, you see a weakness for a piece, grandmasters start targeting that piece because sometimes the difference between a win and a lose can be one pawn. And so they keep piling on attackers onto a given pawn in order to target that weakness. That's what we're doing here. That becomes a weakness for the price. It becomes a weakness, an area that you want to target to. And then from there, you can short, or from there, you can see how price action works. And up here is what I would call a perfect entry for a short. Right? This would be a perfect entry for a short. So imagine getting this 440 points up and then head down lower because we drop. That's an amazing trade if you can get it. But I want to point out one thing here, Peter. If I were to ask you, my boy, why did the price suddenly reverse here? What would you ask yourself? What would you say?
Why did it suddenly reverse?
Yeah, there's no daily level, there's no VWAP level, there's no 2 hour level, there's no weekly level there. Sure, we had the price was down here previously before, but it's not exactly here. Like, what happened here that the price bounced like this?
What time was that at?
At 3 a.m. Good question.
3 a.m. I don't know.
My boy, we keep talking about how time is just as important as price. In fact, often more important. Time matters. Time frame changes,
Oh,
but
the RSI
also,
crossed over, overbought, oversold, overbought.
well, this is a coincidence. It's sort of like the price will get oversold, like things will coincide with the right time frame, with the right timing of things. Let me put this
Is
on
that
and you'll see.
when the market opens somewhere else?
In London. Exactly. You got it. You got it. If I toss on London over there, London opened up right there, and that's where the price decided to completely reverse. That's what happened. So You're like,
Hey, I
Tom,
don't have that indicator. What is that?
no, this is the trading sessions indicator. It's a native indicator for TradingView, so
I
you can
have
have it.
been on Sacred Prophet for years, and I've never seen you throw that indicator on the chart. How dare ye? How dare ye?
Sometimes I forget what people don't know. That's why we do these sessions. That's why we do these things in order to get these gems. All right. So this is the point I want to bring up. All right. This is the crucial point I want to bring up because time matters so much. Time frame changes. Time matters so much because new people are coming on the at the certain time frame, certain things, certain algos turn on, um certain market participants come into the market. When you're trading the US session, you're not just trading the US session. You're trading the London US session. Let me repeat that again. When you're trading the US session and you're looking at price action, you're not just looking at the US session. You're looking at the London US session because the London US session overlap. So, what happened here at the end of the London session? That's where we got the drop back down to VWAP for that perfect bounce for the rest of the day. Tom, does this happen a lot? Yeah. London session here, it dropped at the end of the London session. At the beginning of the US is when it reversed.
What,
At
what, what
the
the F? What the
at the
F? Why the hell am I just hearing about this? I've seen you trade on Price Action Live on Traders Post. I've trade with you. We trade in the overnight. We collaborate together. I'm here on the YouTube channel. We edit these videos. Never once did I see you put this on the chart.
uh
I will
look,
blaspheme the Holy Spirit right now. That is how upset I am. I will commit
you will not
myself.
speak ill of the Lord of liquidity, okay? You keep your tongue in. You got to watch Sacred Prophet in order to get the information over time, all
There's
right?
nobody who watches Sacred Prophet more than me.
Yeah, and this is you over time. You're getting the information that you need.
Okay, how many of these other? First of all, just recently was Gamma that came out of the blue. RSI that came out of the blue, and now I got this London session. Here we go, and then you're like, oh wait, these levels they get quasi mitigated. It's like, can I just give you my money so you can trade for me?
I wish, but one, not allowed to, and two, even if I could, I don't care. So those two things work together for this not to happen.
Look, I guess it's good to not like overwhelm everybody with information. Already, your indicators are um, are a full meal. So yeah, giving it to me piece by piece. But if there's anything else that you're hiding, up your sleeve, then spill on me.
There are. We don't talk about Japanese currency or bond yields. We don't talk about bond spreads between short dated bonds. We don't talk about interest rate differentials across nations. We don't talk about move index volatility. We don't talk about growth inflation policy. These are all things that are going to be coming down the pike, Peter.
Never mind. I'll stick to levels. It's
Yeah,
way better.
let's just stick to
It's way
levels.
better.
That's right. So if we just take a look at the charts here, you'll notice that there can always be this dynamic that happens between the London and US session. Think of them as like handoffs. So here we felt was the low of the London session, which coincided with the open of the US market, and then we rose up. But at the end of the London session, in the same way that at the end of the US session, there could be covering that happens. So longs might sell off some longs in order to lock in their profits. Shorts might cover some shorts because they're locking profits, not holding the position overnight. We have the sell off here that happens at the end of the London session before the US session continues what it's going to do. Let's see over here. You can see it a little bit more. This is on February 26th. We had a drop off in the US Open. But then at the end of the London session, we have this covering that happens, and that just so coincides with the retracement back up to the session VWAP, which then at the end of it, boom, the price falls again. Um, let's see if we can find other good examples here. London rose through the entire London session. At the end of this London session, this is where the sell off happened. That sell off happens, coincides with the drop to the VWAP, and then we move up from there. So this sort of thing happens again and again and again, where the US session and the London session work in tandem. So we're no longer going to be referring to the US session on its own. We're going to be talking about the London US session whenever it makes sense.
What's
Guys,
an indicator called again?
this is called trading sessions. It is a native indicator to TradingView. And so everyone has it, everyone has access to it. It's free. You just toss it onto the chart and you'll be able to see these sessions.
Well, thank you for that. It's
Yeah.
enlightening.
Yeah.
If you could put every indicator on a chart, would it reveal the matrix?
Well, let's leave your stupid question aside. Let's go to Bitcoin for one quick second before we leave.
Hey, same thing with Bitcoin.
No, not exactly. Not exactly. Someone asked me this weekend, hey, after over here, is now a good time to short Bitcoin? And I said, no, now's not a good time to short Bitcoin. This was over here because we don't know what's going on with the war. We're entering volatility. Plus, we weren't actually at any of our levels, right? We're not at a daily level over here. We weren't at a 2-hour level. This was just like a no man's land. Yes, we were moving towards this daily level at the bottom. So if you want to use that as a target in order to scalp and that sort of thing, yes. But as one of those perfect shorts to enter into, no. Which is prescient because we had this big move that happened afterwards. Now you might ask yourself, Tom, you're saying that we're going to go to 55,000 to 50,000. How is it that we're moving up? Guys, Bitcoin moves in 30% bounces all the time. Tom, are you saying Bitcoin can jump 30% up from where it is right now? Yeah, of course. Why couldn't it? Look at this pattern over here that we have over here. How's it any different than the pattern that we've seen over here? It's pretty much the same. And here we had a rise up from the average. You had a rise up of like 10%, 11% before we gave up the ghost and fell back down. The thing that gives me a little bit more of just a little bit more another pebble on the side of the scale of that we're going to go lower eventually is that you'll notice that this rise up that we had, what do we get here? We got a whiff. So that this level wasn't actually cleared, which means likelihood at some point the price has to come back to that level, clear it, and the higher it goes, the more it can fall with force and get that momentum down to the $55,000 level that we keep talking about.
I like that.
We don't unless there's some structural problem, you don't generally get a big dump inside of the market like without a catalyst. So what you need is, because everyone is like cautious, what you need is for price to move into a direction where people go, hey, maybe the bear market's over. When you hear that, when you hear wars and rumors of wars and famine and starvation, look to your brother, look to your sister, for the kingdom of heaven draweth nigh.
Okay.
That means people are on the other side of the boat. They started taking levered positions long, and that's exactly the killing you need in order to liquidate down to the other side. And if you go, Tom, but what if you're wrong and it just keeps rising from over there? Great, that's what your long holding is for. What are you upset about? Is everything you have everything in 50x leverage short? Don't be ridiculous. You can win both ways here. And if you really want to hedge yourself, well, just go on Polymarket and bet on something that gives you great odds in the opposite direction. And all of a sudden now you can have a win either way.
I got to put some more cash in BitGet because I want to be able to trade this without the restrictions of prop firms. So I got to remember to go ahead and do that. That way I can take both sides of this, because you can't take both sides in a prop account because that's hedging, at least against top step rules.
Okay.
But if I put it in my BitGet account, I can get that way I don't have to sit there worried, oh, what if it shoots up? What if it goes down? I can actually trade both sides.
All right, well, that's it for us today. I hope it was useful. Hope it was fun. I find it interesting. So we're going to keep on doing these things. We'll see you tomorrow on the next Revelations at 5 p.m. A little shout out. I'm going to be doing a live stream with Mustang Trader, one of my favorite traders too, one of the most successful traders I've ever seen. A very nice guy, very humble, very fun. We're going to be doing that on Sunday. Sunday night. So we'll give you more information about that. Go on to the sacredprofit.com website in order to see more. You're going to get an email about it as well as a post on X. But until tomorrow, we wish you guys, as always, no, we say amen, brothers and sisters here. That's what
Yeah.
we say here.
How do you trade
Amen.
against Trader Plus? This is
That's right.
good.
That's right.
Right.
All right.